is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Digital Manufacturing Talk. My name is Tyler Fenhouse. I'm the Marketing Manager for Symphony AI Industrial, and we've got a great digital talk lined up for you today, which is introducing Proceedix, a connected worker solution. As you may know, Symphony AI Industrial is a leader in industrial AI solutions in digital manufacturing, plant performance, and optimization, and connected worker. Symphony AI Industrial is a Symphony AI vertical. There are several Symphony AI verticals. You can see them there on your screen. And we are one of the largest, if not the largest, enterprise AI companies with more than 1,600 customers and 3,000 employees. We have a fairly large audience this morning, so everyone will be muted in silence throughout the presentation, but we still want your questions. Anderson Lamas, our host today, will answer all of your questions live right here at the end of the presentation. All you need to do is type your questions in there on your questions panel to the right of your screen, and we will get to those at the end of the presentation. Also be on the lookout for poll questions that he'll be asking you throughout the presentation to kind of guide where the presentation goes. So be on the lookout for that. All right, Anderson's got a lot to get to, so I'm going to hand it off to him, and we're going to get this talk started. Anderson, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Tyler. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are. So yeah, like Tyler said, we're going to be talking a little bit about Symphony AI's Proceedix solution, which is our connected worker solution. If you haven't yet heard of a connected worker solution or know too much what it is, this will be a good intro for you to understand a little bit. And if you have heard about a connected worker solution or have some experience in it, we'll dig in a little deeper so you can kind of understand, what makes Proceedix unique and what we offer and kind of the breadth and the depth of the connected worker platform that we have. Symphony AI itself is a large organization. We have about 3,000 employees in 20 countries, 1,600 customers roughly in over 100 countries. And the industrial division is divided into, or the industrial vertical, is divided into 3 divisions: connected worker, digital manufacturing, and plant performance. Each of those divisions have a various number of softwares. So if anybody's interested in learning a little bit more about our other divisions, I will include my contact at the end, and I can send you a follow-up if you'd like with maybe some manufacturing operations management software, KPI dashboards, plant performance, vibration monitoring, all of these other softwares that come into play here at Symphony AI Industrial. So first off, who's this guy on the screen, talking to me? So yes, my name is Anderson Lemos, like Tyler mentioned. I manage the solution engineering team here at Symphony AI Industrial. I have a little over 12 years of experience in manufacturing. I got my start actually working in a machine shop in CNC machines, learned quickly how to program them and use the different various softwares that power manufacturing to then leverage my knowledge of manufacturing and software into industrial automation, medical device manufacturing, electronic assemblies, those kinds of things. Outside of work, the part that we don't talk about on Zoom and on GoToWebinars, I love to watch Formula One. I'm a big Lando Norris fan, so this season is just getting kicked off here. I don't know if anybody watches it, but on Netflix they have the Drive to Survive series, and that's really popular. So I've been binge watching that over the last couple of days, along with my 1-year-old son and my wife. So it's a little bit about me in a nutshell. But like I mentioned, Symphony AI Industrial has 3 main divisions within the industrial vertical. So we like to say that we connect people, processes, and assets. So people being the connecting the frontline worker, talking about digital transformation, industry 4.0, that kind of thing. And then we connect processes inside of our digital manufacturing division, which is optimizing plant automation and control. So we have IoT and workflow orchestration software, KPIs, MOM systems, that kind of thing. And then thirdly, definitely last but not least, assets. It's where plant performance is. It's where we do condition monitoring, vibration monitoring. We have the Watchman air sensors, process optimization, and asset performance management. So again, kind of covering the 3 different divisions here of our industrial vertical. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me after this, and I will certainly get you connected into those other three. But today, we're going to be talking about Proceedix, which is really the connected worker solution that we're going to be covering. First, we're going to jump into our first poll question. So I'd love to understand a little bit more about, what sector of the industry you're in. And I'll give you a couple seconds here, Tyler. I'll let you run that.
Yep, you'll see that there on your screen. What sector of the industry are you in? So automotive, agriculture, chemical, food and bev, manufacturing, or other. So go ahead and get those in there. Looks like more than 50% of you have voted. Go ahead and click to vote, and Anderson will get this thing moving along here. All right, 80% have voted. Go ahead and click if you have not yet. I'll give you a second or two. All right, let's take a look. So it looks like two main factions, 41% chemical and 59% manufacturing or other. So back to you, Anderson.
Cool. All righty, thanks, guys. Definitely helped to understand. So manufacturing is a big window, and I know I threw that up there because there's a lot of different sectors here that we don't cover specifically inside of that poll, but thanks for the answers. So work instructions and inspections digitized. That's how you can kind of sum it up if you were to put Proceedix into one sentence. So really what we're doing is we're taking these old documents like you see here. How many times, I know I've seen it a million times, but how many times have you seen it where you're walking through a manufacturing plant, you see something like you see here on the left where you have an old dusty piece of paper sitting on a machine. Maybe it's the correct revision, maybe it's 4 revisions ago, who knows, it's been sitting there for 2 or 3 years collecting dust, but that's somewhere, somehow somebody's gonna run a piece of equipment or a job off of those pieces of paper, right? The other thing that I've seen happen, and I'm pretty sure I'm guilty of it myself, you have an old revision of a workflow inside of a toolbox somewhere, and you find it and you're like, oh yeah, this is what I have to do. So you pull it out, and of course that happens to be the day that the auditors are walking by, checking on things, and then you're caught with an old revision out on the shop floor. And somebody gets written up, documents are filed and problems and red flags are raised because of that. So we're going to talk a little bit about how we prevent that by digitizing all of these workflows and ensuring that everybody's on the latest revision. And when I say digital, I don't just mean what you see on the right here where it's a PDF, right? It's not just a digital PDF that you're going to execute workflows from, but you're actually going to be using the software to build these workflows, maintain them, revise them, and launch them out to the users, the operators on the floor. Another key concept of it is what you see in the middle. It's the hey, I have a problem, let me jump on this walkie-talkie and see if I could find somebody to come fix this problem. Well, that doesn't give you visibility to, is that other person busy, or is that other person even here today? Maybe they're on vacation, maybe they're in a different plant. So Proceedix has what we call remote assistance, and we're going to cover that very quickly as well to show that, hey, we can actually launch action items and then do what we call remote assist, like a FaceTime, if you will, with your preferred device with data enabled transaction. So we can actually track what work was done, what was launched, where did we go from here, who talked to who, how long, those kinds of things. So what does Proceedix kind of boil down to? You have these very simple points that we like to say. First of all, it's simple, it's step-by-step guidance, like what you see here in this operator's hand. Obviously, this operator has a very nice manicure and is probably not actually doing any real, hands-on work, but it's a good picture for the PowerPoint. So, they're checking the oil on a car, for example, in this part of the demo we're going to run through today, just to give you a high-level idea of some of the applications we see. But we want to keep it one simple step, right? If you look at this PDF here, you have 50 different steps. Where do I start? Where do I have to fill in? What's already filled in? What's just information? That kind of thing. If you eliminate all this confusion and you simply provide one screen with a yes, no, or a different answer or an input request, then you can focus the operator, get them to be more efficient, get them to really understand what they are doing at this step rather than focusing on an entire 50 steps like you see here. So one of the last webinars I did was talking about hidden benefits, and this is one of them. It's picking up efficiencies such as this one that I just mentioned. Device agnostic is the second big point for us. We go on Apple, iOS, Android, Apple laptops, desktops. We even go on wearables. So if you'd like to dabble in the augmented reality space, you have assisted reality as well. RealWear, Iristic glasses, those kinds of devices where you're going to be using them for work, hands-free operation. We do have a few customers that are very happy with that. They do enjoy it. So there is definitely a way for you to explore that without making a full commitment to going to an augmented reality only software. You can go to Proceedix, where you can do 95% of your work on smartphones, tablets, laptops. And then for that 5% of work, you can then switch over to a pair of smart glasses, for example. Another thing we're going to cover today is our dynamic and conditional logic. So if, then, so what statements built into the application help you build workflows that are true to the actual environment that you're in. Sometimes this piece of paper is black and white and it's yes or no answers. And if something happens that's not accounted for on this piece of paper, then you have to go pick up a walkie-talkie and go walk around aimlessly for 15-20 minutes until you figure out what to do. If you have conditional workflows built into Proceedix, that's how we're able to account for those scenarios in real life that don't fall between the lines of a piece of paper. And then we're talking about applicable for any skill level. So Proceedix can be applicable to a person who's just starting, for example. They can go through all the steps, all the notions, and maybe they have to watch all the videos included in a procedure as part of their training for the first 30 days. Whereas the senior technician who's been there for 20 years probably doesn't need to watch the training video on how to pull an oil stick. Well, that's how we make it applicable for any skill level. So those are set different options to make mandatory or not mandatory for a certain user or a certain group. Now, that's cool, but where does all this kind of come in? So what we like to say, it's Proceedix is usually somewhere in between the inspections and the instructions area of a factory. Usually a little bit of both, right? So if we're doing quality control or we're doing a floor walk, then Proceedix is great for that. In the quality sector, in the reliability area, we're talking about repair or line monitoring or environmental health and safety inspections where you want to make sure that something was done correctly, something was cleaned correctly. That's a great application for Proceedix. On the other hand, in the instructions area, we talk a little bit about productivity. So if we're starting up a line or we're cleaning a line, kind of kicked off from that EHS inspection, for example, or we're doing a line changeover. Maybe we're moving over in the food and beverage industry from making cookies to we're going to make muffins this afternoon, then we need a line changeover. That's where Proceedix comes in, where you have that good traceability on what has been done. And of course, preventative maintenance, super important for all of you manufacturers out there. You guys probably get sick and tired of hearing that word, but that's where Proceedix, this is kind of the line where Proceedix plays in that realm in between in inspections and in instructions. Now, why do those areas need something like a digital workflow or a connected worker solution? The big thing here that I see, it's really traceability. So if you're thinking about using a connected worker solution versus using a piece of paper, there's many benefits into efficiency and those kinds of things. But one of the big things that you pick up here, it's really a full audit trail like I'm talking about here. It's that traceability. Who did what, where, when, how, who signed off on what, all of those things come into play. So as you're completing work inside of Proceedix, and I'll show you this here in the software, as I'm completing work inside of this application here, which is where we're going to talk about the user portal, I'm actually collecting all the data in the background here. And so I can start off by going into my history view, and I can look at a procedure. So let's say I want to look at this oil check procedure that was completed. I can look at all the data that was input. So I can see the inputs, answers. I'm going to show you one that has a little more data input into it. But for example, if I go into this one, I think might have some more. If I click into that full traceability, I can really start understanding, hey, there was a safety tag condition here. There was a picture taken here. This was maybe somebody trying to inform somebody. In this case, there was a decline of a step created. So we require the operator to capture an image of the tag. In this case, obviously somebody's doing a demo. So they just use whatever they had handy, which in this case was a remote controller. And then, hey, we have inputs here of answers. We have pressure sets, and operator had to enter those pressures. They had to launch a nonconformity. So we had some information we needed to collect in order to launch that nonconformity. Who did it go to? What was the description, severity, due dates? We can even look at where this nonconformity was launched. So if I click on Google Maps, I can zoom into a very specific location as to where this procedure was launched, or that nonconformity, and I can even look at where the procedure itself was launched. Now, one thing I want you to notice, if you look at this workflow that was done, right now we're in the admin part of it, so we're looking at the administrator view rather than the user view. But if you look at this, we can see that when there was a start date, there was an end date, there was a lead time, an activity duration, what time they started each step, the user profile, and a location. What you're going to notice when I jump into the application, the user application, is I don't have to input any of that information. All of that information is actually gathered automated. So it's simply by me logging into my application, it automatically gathers all of this information, which is very powerful. There's a lot of efficiency gain there. A lot of customers that I have, that we have, that they went from multiple hours of savings per week, per day sometimes, because they're not having to fill out an Excel spreadsheet and then accidentally fill in the wrong data, or take that data and then input it into wrong place on the laptop, or take pictures with the phone, or with even a digital camera if you're still stuck in those days, right? Take a picture of this phone, send it to this email, try to upload it correctly. Oh, wait, the file's too big, my email won't send. All of that is gone by using a solution like Proceedix. And then, of course, from here, we can aggregate all this data and push it out to a Microsoft Power BI dashboard, as well as the KPI 360 dashboard, which is another Symphony product. So from here, I can look at what the procedure execution was. I can look at per operator, how long it's taking them to do a certain procedure. So if I actually drill down into oil check, for example, I can look at the different operators and see how long each one of them are taking to do a certain step, and then start analyzing maybe where this is taking too long. Maybe this is being done too fast. So maybe there's issues with, quality, and we can start aggregating and contextualizing the data in a way that we can understand a little more about what's happening on our manufacturing floor. So I know I took a long detour there, but essentially that's what we talk about when we talk about 100% traceability. Now, the platform itself, I showed you a little bit about the administrator portal, and I'll show you a little more. But essentially on the left, we're going to have the administrator portal. That's where you're creating and managing the workflows. In the middle, you're going to have operator. That's where the operator actually does the workflows. So think an application on your smartphone or on your smart glasses, on your laptop, on your desktop. Like for example, today I'm operating from my laptop. So you'll see our laptop view of the user view. If you had an iPhone, you could operate it the same way from your iPhone. And then third, like we covered already, we're pushing this data out to a reporting and analytics or a business intelligence tool, such as Power BI, Tableau, or KPI 360. And so that's a continuous improvement methodology, right? We're taking this data that we're collecting in these first two portions, and we're pushing information into the reporting so that we can perform those continuous improvement efforts that we all talk about. And this is how you put it into action. Right? And then at the bottom, I threw in there integrations. Integrations meaning we can integrate Proceedix into your MES system, your ERP system, whatever other acronym you have on the shop floor, as long as it has connectivity, like an open API or a database that it's pushing to, then we can probably integrate with it. And so if you have any of those questions, any of those integration complexities, one thing that Proceedix is very good at is getting integrations to work at an enterprise and scalable level. So I've seen that time and time again. Customers succeed because of that. So if you want to learn a little more about that, or if you have any questions, any integration questions, please feel free to reach out. All right. So this is a quick. I'm not going to spend too much time here, but this is just a quick representation of. This is the admin view here on the left. This is the operator view over on the right. I'm going to show you a little bit of both. Essentially what this is talking about is the admin view on the left is going to be done on your laptop, your desktop, where you're going to create, manage, edit workflows. Operator view on the right is done on your smartphone, tablet. Now I'm going to jump over to my poll question number 2. Would love to know if any of you have ever used a connected worker solution before. And I'll hand it back to Tyler real quick.
All right, as you can see, the question there on your screen, just click to vote. Looks like 50% of you already have. Go ahead and click to vote. Just a simple yes, no, or you've never heard of it until today, which is the case. You're in the right place. All right, we're at 70%. Go ahead. I'll leave it open for a couple more seconds, and we will get moving here. All right, let's take a look. So yes, 35%, no, 48%, and never heard of it until today, 17%. Back to you, Anderson.
Cool. All right, for those of you who have never heard about it before, I'd love to chat with you afterwards and see if you got a well-rounded view of it, and if it's something that you understand a little better. And I'd love to, just chat with you and kind of get you up to speed on it, and learn to love what your opinion of it is, because it's a more fresher mind than mine, who's been working in this space for a while. But yeah, so thanks. Anyway, so we're going back to talking a little bit about the BI dashboards. Another thing that we can produce as well from the data is custom reporting. So imagine, you just did a bunch of work on a machine. Now you have to go sit somewhere and fill out a ton of paperwork to create a report of what was done. Maybe it's a warranty report, or it's just a maintenance report, or an inspection report of, hey, yes, I inspected this item, and here are the 62 measurements I took. But what if we can just do the work and automate the reporting? That's where Proceedix comes in, right? As you're inputting those answers into Proceedix, we're automatically creating the report in the background, which then can be printed at the end, either to a PDF or printed digitally, sent out, via email, or to a dashboard. So kind of how we work on those two things there. The other one I want to touch on is a little bit on the funner side. It's not something that's super prominent in the industry. It's not something that everybody needs and everybody wants. There is a lot of hype around it, and there's a lot of people talking about augmented reality, but the use cases themselves can be limited. I was a former employee of a big augmented reality company, and so I have a lot of experience in this area. And I think it is a growing market, but it is still in that growth stage. But augmented reality certainly has its place in the world. I'm not going to tell you that you should have all of your operators using augmented reality. It's probably not there yet. Actually, we were on the call the other day with a customer in Japan, And their biggest thing they were worried about our solution was that their operators would get seasick from using our solution, which I thought was funny. And we assured them that, hey, actually the majority of our customers don't use augmented reality. They use cell phones and tablets primarily. But there is a small percentage that do use augmented reality for those very specific use cases. There's very specific moments where you need to be voice-driven commands and hands-free. But nonetheless, Proceedix does offer that solution to you out of the box. So if you want to, hey, I'm gonna use cell phones and tablets, but I would like to have a pair of smart glasses, maybe to learn a little more, or see if there's a better fit inside of my organization, or even we have this one application where we need to be completely hands-free. Then Proceedix out of the box can help support you in that and give you that capability without sacrificing any of the other functions on the other devices. And some of the hands-free stuff, it's really using your voice to speak through the steps in the cards. So instead of clicking the green button, I would just say proceed. Instead of saying, hey, I put 53 liters of oil in this car, I would just say select input, and then it would ask me, hey, how much oil did you put in the car? And then you would say 53 liters. So it's a lot more conversational versus clicking on buttons or clicking on a screen. Yeah, I'm gonna skip over this stuff here, but yeah, some of the talking about the integration that Proceedix does. So API integration, so it's a big one for us. So Proceedix is very rarely a standalone system. What do I mean by that? So very rarely do our customers come out and just buy Proceedix and that's it. They don't use anything else. They don't have an ERP system. They don't have an MES system. Generally, what we see, and this is to speak to our scalability efforts, they start off with Proceedix and a small integration, and they end up with Proceedix all over the place and a very large integration, which because their operators just love to use it and they get a good sense of the data that's provided and the valuable benefits. But in order to do that, a lot of times you have to integrate with existing systems. So if you have SAP, for example, or if you have Plex, MES systems, right? Anything like that, we can certainly integrate with those. CMMS systems we integrate with often as well. So we can get those conversations going in between those softwares, sharing data back and forth, that kind of thing. So with that being said, I'm going to quickly just talk about how we can deploy, and then I'm going to jump over into the software and show you a couple little features of it, and then we'll wrap this up. So the big thing to keep in mind here, Proceedix is actually available on our shared cloud. So we're a Microsoft house, so we have a Microsoft tech stack. And so if you wanted to use our public SaaS, it's on Microsoft Azure. If you have your own cloud, if you had AWS or GCP, for example, I was at Oracle for a while myself, and so we can support all of that as well. Private cloud installs, our software is SOC 2 Type 2 compliant, so that would apply there for your private cloud. And then we can also go on-prem. So for those big defense contractors, for those companies that have very stringent IT, for example, we do offer on-premises installs, so we can actually take our software and install it on your servers or your data centers. And likewise, that will be SOC 2 compliant as well. So before I jump over to that poll question number 3, I'm going to come over and show you a little bit about the software. So like I was showing you before, this is the user, the administrator portion of it, but I'm actually going to come over here and go over to our user side of things. And so in here, this is our user application, like you see. We keep it very simple. You have a list of procedures that you are able to launch. Maybe I walk over and I say, okay, it's time to do the oil check on this car. If it's not scheduled, or if it's not already launched as an action by a supervisor or by another technician for me to do, then I can start it myself. But if it was launched as an action, it would show up here in my to-do list. So you see here, this one was launched by operator CFW. Where is it launched from, and what was the date? So if I run into an issue, I can just send an action to somebody else to do. Likewise, I have procedures that are planned. That's what you see here in the P. So Tuesday, February 28th, I was supposed to, 9 a.m., I was supposed to check this car here, oil check, car A. And then I have also unfinished tasks. So if any of these unfinished tasks, if I click into them at any point, when I click in, it just takes me right to where I left off. So I can just pick up and run with where I was before. In this case, I was inspecting a wind turbine. So obviously you can see that my skill set to go from changing oil on a car to a wind turbine, I'm a very mechanically apt person. So anyway, we're gonna kick off oil check, and we can choose a number of cars that we like to do. So if you had, hey, check the oil on a machine, and then you had 50 machines, you can specify which machine to check there. So again, this workflow is completely configurable, but I start off with a list of open action items I can give to the operator for anything that's, so I chose the Porsche is gonna be my oil check today. So any action item open towards the Porsche is going to be displayed on this list for the operator to understand and see what's going on before they start. Again, as we go through the workflows, very visual, very big pictures, very big text, meant to drive that user adoption, meant to have users understand how easy it is to use. So in this case, you'll see I have 3 bubbles here on the left of next steps. If I click yes, it's going to add a few because there's a couple of extra things I have to do in order to get through this procedure. If I had a QR code, for example, I can pull one up quickly here on my phone. So if I have a QR code pulled up like this one, I can hold it up to my camera. It's going to pull up my side camera, and then it scans the QR code, pulls in the data on that QR code. So if you wanted to make sure that they were using the correct oil, we can double check against that oil can, or scan a badge, or scan an asset, serial number on a machine, however you would like to see that. And so we can go through the motions of changing the oil on this car together. It can ask me how much oil did I add to it when I was done. So I can say I added 4.5 liters. If it turns green, I'm in a good range. It gives me a min and a max. I can also look at a graph of how much oil was added historically. So good to share information between users and operators if you would like to do that as well through a web API call. And then we can also embed videos. In this case, we're asking somebody to reset the warning light, and then we can add a video on how to do it. A couple of the more powerful features, I can actually send notes or pictures, videos, and audios back to whoever I want, actually. So if I configure this to say, this is a new process, so we want the operators out on the shop floor to be able to send this information back to the guys in the office, for example, the process engineers, or the NPI engineers, research and development, or maybe it's you want the maintenance team to be able to send it to the engineers, or technicians to maintenance. However you want that feedback to go, you can. So I can say, hey, I want to add a picture of something. I can take a picture live. I can take a picture of the back of my iPhone, say that this phone is scratched, for example. I can circle it, make an X. I can add comments here at the bottom, and then I can then attach that photo to this step, and then you see there. I could also launch an action, so I can say, hey, I have a nonconformity, or I want to inform a team lead, and likewise, I can say who that person is, or it can be preset for me, and just say issue with phone, for example. I can run through these steps, set severity levels, due dates, and even attach an additional picture for this one. Or I can make it a video if I'd like to, those kinds of things, and then send that action. And that will go to whoever is the appropriate person to receive that. Now, as I went through all of that, what's happening here in the background, you're going to see, excuse me, is we're actually collecting that data of that process that's being done. So you'll notice that I never clicked done here at the end. I never actually finished this procedure, but you'll notice that here 2:28 at 10:35 a.m. it's ongoing, and I'm actually already collecting this data. So you'll see here that we have, when they started, when it hasn't ended yet, so there isn't a lead time or a total duration time. But we have the time of the operator, who's doing it, where they're doing it. Here's the barcode I scanned. Here's how much oil I put in. And here's my nonconformity. And all of the information that we've been working on has been uploaded already to this workflow that you see here. So again, we're actually collecting this data in near real time. So you'll see that we have some that's finished, some that's planned, and some that's ongoing. So we're actually collecting this data as the operators finishing it, given they have internet connectivity. And so we can be updating your Power BI dashboard, for example, if I wanted to know where executions are taking place or who's doing them or those kinds of things. We can actually be updating this information in near real time to your Power BI through Proceedix. So yeah, that's a very quick demo. Obviously, we have a lot of other features such as scheduling and notifications that we can preset. How to build procedures is another one. I can walk anybody through that who's interested. If they want to reach out to me, I can give you a more in-depth demo of how this works, how Proceedix works. But yeah, that's a good segue into our poll question number 3, to just understand, are you considering connected worker as part of your digital transformation journey? And Tyler, I'll let you run with this one.
All right, one final question before we wrap things up here. Just a simple yes or no. Go ahead and click to vote. Looks like about 40% of you have 50. Get those votes in, and then we will move on to the question section. So, all right, I'll leave it open for a couple more seconds. All right, let's take a look. All right, 83% yes, 11% awesome. No, and then 6% not in a digital transformation journey, but 83%. That's a high number.
Awesome. Glad to hear that you guys are focusing on that. It's a very important part. I think, I always say this, but if you look at like a front office of an organization, usually they're very powered by software, CRM, HCM, and MES, and ERP, and all of the other 3-letter acronym software. And I think what we've done is we've forgotten a little bit about the manufacturing floor, especially the ones I used to work on. As far as software goes, so it's an asset-heavy industry, but software can be a little bit lacking. So connected worker is a good way to make sure that your frontline workers also have the benefits of software and software automation and all of those, all the data that comes with it. All of that stuff comes into play. So yeah, with that being said, I'd like to just throw my information up on here. If anybody has any questions, I'm going to stick around and answer some of your questions. But here is my contact information. If anybody wants to reach out personally, please feel free. It's my cell phone and my email address there. I'd love to chat and learn a little bit more about what you're doing and how we can help, or if you have any questions about our software. And Tyler, if we have any questions, I'll be happy to answer some.
All right, let's move on. There are a couple here. There are a couple people asking for recordings of the full presentation. There's a gentleman here asking for a recording of the demo, 100%. I will have the recording of this session up shortly after we close up shop here. So we'll get that link to anybody who wants it. Go ahead and request it in the questions. All right, here's a question. Let's start here. And then if you haven't gotten your questions in yet, make sure you're typing those in. One just came in, so get those in. All right, Anderson, is there a list of standard integrations like SAP or D365 FO or standard MES or LIMS systems?
So we have a standard, the question comes in like we do have some pre-built connectors, if that's kind of where you're getting at. Each integration is pretty custom, right? It's not like because I built an SAP connector in the past, I can just take it and plug and play into your SAP system. You might have different options, or there might be different triggers or values inside of JSON objects, that kind of thing. So we do have some pre-built connectors, but generally, SAP definitely we connect to SAP very often. A lot of our customers use SAP, for example. I can get with you and talk a little bit more about our integration stack as well. We do have some documentation around it that I can provide as well. So if you're interested in, which software it is that you want to integrate to, I can get you some information on that. So again, just feel free to reach out and I'll get you exactly what you're looking for. But integration is almost never an issue for us. If there ever is an issue with integration, it's usually because of the other software, which again is very, very rare nowadays. I feel like everybody has an open API architecture or some kind of database that they're pushing and pulling data from and to.
All right. Another integration question, and maybe you just answered it, but I'm not sure, so I'm going to ask it anyways. What about integration with RPA tools for automated actioning, follow-up procedures, and workflows?
Yeah, I love that question. That's a great question. Yeah, we certainly do that. So we use internally a lot of like Logic Apps, which is a Microsoft service. And so we'll build little automation tools within our software for certain things that are not out of the box. Very easy to build, very easy to scale. But yeah, RPA is certainly something we love to do. It makes everybody's life easier, especially our customers. Sometimes they don't even know that we're using an RPA tool. They just know that it works amazing, and this is all automated now, and I can't believe it. So yeah, it's certainly something we do, and the extensibility is certainly there to allow you to do that as well.
Fantastic. All right. From the same gentleman, and maybe you just answered it, but I'm going to ask it anyways. What are the import possibilities for workflows SOPs?
Yeah, so we actually do have some macros that we use for importing those workflows. It depends. I would have to understand what format the workflows are currently in. So I can say that, generally we can build some kind of a small script or middleware to bring those things in if we don't already have an import macro for it. Like if it's in a CSV file, for example, then it's super easy. We just have to understand a little bit about the format. Or if it's in another software and we can build an API, for example, to do importation, or if it's in a database and we can kind of push and pull from that database instead. So certainly we have quite a few ways to import and export actually. Workflows, if you look at our workflow engine, I think I can pull one up. Tyler, can everybody still see my screen?
Yes.
So if I pull really quickly a workflow up here in Flow Editor, so our workflows are kind of very similar to like what you would imagine in like a Microsoft Visio, digital workflow. So conditional logic here, boil level is above minimum. So we do have quite a bit of export tools and import tools. So we can certainly chat about that more and kind of understand what structure your data is in that you would like to import. So yeah, not a problem. We do it all the time as well. I'm actually working on a customer right now that has a very large number of imports that we're building some import macros for.
All right. Great. Next question. They keep them coming. You say you integrate with SAP. Do you have experience with SAP Business One?
Business One, I would have to look into. I'm not going to say that I do because I don't know if we integrated with that. Generally, it's like ERP and S4HANA, those kinds of suite tools. But let me shoot me an email, or I'll grab your information from Tyler and I'll take a look. I'll take a note here on my end for SAP Business One and get you some information back on that. That I don't know the answer to.
All right. Can you export raw data to integrate into corporate dashboarding EPM?
Yeah, absolutely. So everything we do gets pushed out to a database, a SQL database. So the data is digitized, which is nice, right? Like if you're collecting signatures, for example, or images, you can actually digitize that, even do image analytics on top of it if you like to. But everything we do, we push out to a SQL database, and that database is yours. We can do what we need to in order to do your implementation with it, but it's your database, it's your data. You can export it to your dashboards. You can build the pipelines, the data pipelines. You can build the integrations on that end as well. But yeah, absolutely.
All right. And this is, to me, it's a vague question, but maybe it's not to you, Anderson. The gentleman asked, is this a validated or qualified system?
That's a good question. I don't know how to answer that one. I'd have to have more context.
Okay. In depth, and like I said, I give Anderson the report, and he sees all these questions, so he will definitely get back to everyone with a question here.
Yeah, I'd like to see the context. I was thinking like maybe like an ISA 95 standard that applies into, like L1 to L4 or something. I'd have to understand the context a little better.
All right. Okay, we got one here that's kind of. Okay, I'll just read it. Okay, here's the question. Integration with what 3 words for precise location positioning, especially inside factories and buildings? Does that make any?
So I'm assuming you're talking about integration for like GPS location, because I did show that locational feature. So what I'll tell you, it's that we do have inside of our. So if I go into a procedure, I can click in, and then this one, my location available. So I can click show, and it's going to pull up the location in which this workflow was completed. Right, so you do have a pretty good definition on the location, latitude, longitude, but what that's going to come down to, it's really the accuracy of the hardware. If you're inside of a factory, I know that's which I imagine is where your question goes. It can be difficult to triangulate, or if you try to triangulate, it can be difficult to get an exact location because factory walls, concrete, I-beams overhead, there's a bunch of issues. So we have seen customers that will create a mesh network or some kind of GPS network inside of their factory, or even a GPS through Wi-Fi location kind of system. Like 5G is starting to get big inside of factories, or starting to gain some traction inside of factories, I would say. So if you have the hardware in place to be able to track things down precisely enough for your requirements, then we can give you the results of that through our software. But there is some mesh and kind of GPS things and network capabilities and things that need to go into play in order for you to get that inside of a factory specifically. I hope that answers your question.
All right. We had 2 that came in that are more or less the same. I'll just read them both and then let you answer, Anderson. How could AI enhance the Proceedix solution, e.g. predict user errors, etc.? And then the next gentleman asked, how and where in the platform is Proceedix using AI ML capabilities?
Yeah, absolutely. So AI, obviously Symphony AI is our parent company. So AI has always been a big factor for us at Proceedix. And there's a couple different ways. It's definitely things that we're doing today and enhancements that are on our roadmap. So one quick example is image analytics. So we can actually, take a snapshot with a machine vision camera, for example, do the image analytics on it, and then those results can then trigger actions or no actions inside of Proceedix. So let's say an inspector is checking a part, there's a machine vision system, takes a picture and finds a defect. Instead of just saying, hey, there's a defect, it can actually launch actions within Proceedix to say, inspector number 3, you need to go check this portion. It looks like it's this kind of defect. And then with the Eureka AI platform, we're not just looking at an image and telling you that there's a problem. Through Vision 360, we're actually giving you prescriptive. So predictive too. So we're looking at it and saying, hey, this looks like it's an issue. Here's what we should do. And then the conditional workflows within Proceedix can then launch and say, here's how you should fix this problem. Inspector, do you want to try the solution, or do you agree? Things can be built there. We also do like optical character recognition through Proceedix. And so that's, AI being pretty much looking at a piece of machinery that doesn't have PLC or SCADA connectivity or IoT connectivity, maybe. So we can take the digital, or the gauges on that machine, for example, and pull the data, digitize it, and put it into Proceedix. Another one is speech to text. So we're using Microsoft Azure's microservices for speech to text. And so we're able to decipher words inside of a noisy manufacturing environment, translate them into text, and then able to take that text and translate that into data for your you can go from text to BI dashboard, for example. Of course, high level, there's a lot of things that go in between there. And then we have other things on our roadmap for AI as well that I'd love to share with you. We can talk about that and kind of walk through the things that are coming, like suggestions by AI, user context, built in through AI, that kind of thing. So yeah, definitely doing a lot of exciting things in the AI space, and looking forward to expanding that even more.
All right, and we have one last one, and I think this is a good one to end on. The software looks great, but how have you encouraged user adoption?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah. So user adoption is always a tricky one, right? Anybody that talks about software knows that user adoption is tricky. And in manufacturing, where we have a much older workforce, it's even trickier. I mean, anybody who's been on the manufacturing floor has heard the "we've always done it this way" kind of phrase, right? I grew up hearing that, starting in a factory when I was like 17 or 18. But yeah, so what we do, it's a number of things. It's obviously, you see the UI UX here, very simple to use. You look at the user portion of it, it's very easy to use. There's not a huge learning curve. The pictures are, for example, big, easy to read. But one of the big things that I would say, aside from the usability, the UI, the UX is excellent. But for example, one thing that we do, if you have an Android, you can use your Android. Just download Proceedix on your Android. If you have an iPhone, you can just download Proceedix on your iPhone. If you want to use your laptop, you just download Proceedix on your laptop. The argument of, hey, you have to use this Android because it's work, or you have to use this iPhone, for a person who uses Android, it doesn't go over well, right? Like, my parents are diehard Android fans, and I just grew up using Apple, so I just use it, right? It's a great platform. They both are. I can pretty much like ruin a family dinner if I start the Android versus Apple argument over dinner, right? So you just don't. So Proceedix decides to be hardware agnostic and bring your own device. So if your operators are really comfortable with this device, let them use it. And so that way, they're not having to learn a new operating system, a new phone, a new piece of hardware, and a new piece of software at the same time. They already know how to use the phone. They know how to pull up the camera. They know how to do all these different things on it. Just add Proceedix to it, and now your user adoption goes sky high, right? There's a lot of other solutions on the market that are very specific for a type of device, where Proceedix is hardware agnostic, and a number of other things we do too that if we're running out of time, but I'd love to go through them with you in the future. If anybody, again, if you want to reach out, we schedule a meeting. We can have a quick 15-minute chat and kind of catch you up on that as well.
Fantastic. Two more came in, and I think they'll be quick answers, I hope. I apologize, Anderson. No, but we love the interaction. I mean, this is what it's all about.
Absolutely.
I think this is a quick answer. Multi-languages is supported?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
Fantastic. And then last question here. This is from a new individual. That's why I wanted to get to him. Is there a way we can plan or schedule jobs within the software or resources? And then is it possible to forecast the capacity available within the team to execute?
That's a great question. So you can certainly schedule. Here is our, we have a security timeout because of our SOC 2 compliance. Here's our scheduling tool. So I can come in here, I can add any new feature, any new process I want. So for example, Tuesdays at 2 p.m., I want you to do an oil check on the Porsche. I want to add a new one, I can add it here. I can also add in bulk through a CSV file. So if, again, that scalability comes into question. Instead of adding one in one, I can just all, export them all from a different tool, put them all in a CSV file, certain template, and then upload them into here in bulk. As far as the capacity question goes, that's an interesting one. So you can certainly do that through our KPI software, where you would provide your capacity. We could provide the workload stuff, and then if you wanted to even tie in machine data into machine capacity, for example, and then do the analytics there, we could build something around that. I will tell you, it's not a standard out-of-the-box Proceedix solution. We do have an asset management feature of Proceedix, but if we tie 2 or 3 of our systems here together at Symphony, again, the beauty of being the Symphony industrial organization, we have a lot of different softwares and solutions. But if we tie even 2 of them together, I think you would get a pretty comprehensive suite that would do exactly what you just asked. I'd love to learn a little bit more about that project. That sounds really interesting. If you want to reach out, again, I'll put my information back here on the screen. But yeah, certainly sounds doable, and we have a couple different ways to achieve that within our software suite.
All right, fantastic. And that's a great one to end on. Luckily, no more questions come in, but people, like we said, that's why we do these live sessions, answering your questions in real time. So thank you so much for the questions.
Absolutely.
A lot of great interaction.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep, Anderson, and we know that's time consuming for you as well to put these together. Thank you so much for reprising another great digital manufacturing talk, and to everyone who attended. We hope to see you at another digital manufacturing talk real soon. You can check that out on our website, symphonyindustrial.ai. Go to resources and then go to digital manufacturing talks. You'll see everything coming up. I think Anderson has a talk coming up very soon, so you're going to want to check that out. And then, like I said, Anderson or someone from his team will reach out to everyone who had additional questions or wanted a recording. So thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic day.
Thank you, everyone.